All right, let's get the brakes changed on this 2021 Equinox. First thing you want to do is loosen up the lug nuts before jacking the car up. Once you get those lug nuts loosened, you can jack the car up and remove the lug nuts right before you remove the tire. Once you remove the tire, this gives you access to that braking system so you can see the rotors and the brake. And as you're working on this front right brake, you want to get in the car, turn your wheel all the way to the right so it gives you easier access to those back bolts so we can start removing the caliper, replacing the brakes. Once you get access, you can remove that top and the bottom bolt to the brake caliper. Once you get those loose, I got the brake caliper off by using a flathead screwdriver and wedging it in between the caliper and the rotor. Started prying away at it, and then the brake caliper eventually come up. I set the brake caliper just on the top of that rotor so I didn't bust any brake lines. Next thing you want to do is remove those two pins. You have one at the top and one at the bottom. You should be able to just slide it out. I had to use a 17 millimeter socket to kind of loosen it a little bit, but after doing that, they both came out pretty easy. After removing those, I used the flathead screwdriver again just to kind of pry out that first brake pad. The second one was easy enough for me to just remove with my hand. Once I get those, I'm going to also remove the brake clips. You have one at the top and you have one at the bottom. These ones were pretty worn out and rusty. When you buy your new pair of brake pads, it should come with 4 new clamps. And to get my new clips to sit in, I used a wire brush and just cleaned where the old ones sat. Got all of the dust and the debris out. Got some brake lubricant, put them on my new brake pads where all the metal will be touching. All those will be all my oil points. And then I put my new clips in. Once you put them in, keep pressing until you hear a click. That's how you know they're seated properly. Once you get that click, you can put your new brake pads on. They should seat directly in. You want to put one on each side. Once I got them both in, I just kind of pressed down on them just to make sure that they were seated correctly and firmly. After that, I used some more brake lubricant to oil up the pins that I took out previously. And I just want to point something out. Once you're done oiling your pins, you will see that one pin, you will see that one of those pins has a black stripe at the bottom. That's just an indicator that that pin is the one that's going to go at the bottom. You'll put the top one, slide the top one in, and you'll be good on there. And this is how it should look before we apply and screw that brake caliper back on. But before we do that, what you want to do is use one of your old brake pads, put it onto your caliper, and we'll use a C-clamp to compress that brake caliper back down. This is how it should look when you're done. And after you're done with that, we are able to apply the brake caliper back on. When applying the brake caliper back on, you want to make sure that you're lining your bolt up with your pin. You're going to put those screws back on, one at the top, one at the bottom. It should just fit straight in and it should snug. It should start to hand tighten. You will see right away. What I decided to do was come back with a 14 millimeter socket wrench. If you don't have a socket wrench, you can use a regular wrench, but you will need to use a plier on this middle bolt right here so that you can keep that from spinning. That way you can tighten up your outside bolt. This is what our caliper looks like with the brake on, with the caliper on, all of the screws tight, and everything is good to go. Once we got the caliper and everything back on, we could put our tire on. I used the lug nuts and just hand tighten them while it was still in the air in the star motion. Then I put the tire on the ground and tighten them in the star motion again. Enjoy.